back to the Daily Grind. Thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back pickle biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
The Nigerian nightmare Kamaru Usman was hurt and upset by Dana White's post-fight comments after his performance versus Emil Mek that some people say lowered his stock even though it was a dominant win. Now I say those people are crazy even though they might be right, but to me that shit is crazy. If they might be right to the general public, just the way that this win is being talked about, a lot of people are bringing extra attention to Kamaru Usman's performance, and they're nitpicking his post-fight speech where he said, "I was 30% in that fight. I'm the most well-rounded fighter. Colby Covington, you can't hide from me anymore." But people are they're not taking the best well-rounded fighter. They're not taking the Colby Covington call out. People are really focusing in on his 30% comments, and that's really what Dana White spoke on in the post-fight presser. Dana White wasn't even saying what a lot of these fucking nerds that don't know MMA or that are just fucking, I don't know, people that are criticizing Kamaru Usman's performance. That's not what Dana White was criticizing. Dana White literally only said that 30% comment was kind of fucking trash. Be like, oh, you're 30% now, what are you going to be 60% next time? Dana White didn't say your performance was boring or anything like that. He did say the crowd was booing you out of the octagon when you made that 30% comment, but a lot of the fans, casual fans or whatever you want to call them, are now labeling Kamaru Usman a boring fighter. They're saying Tyron Woodley and Kamaru Usman are both boring fighters because Kamaru Usman dominated the fight, and to me that's bullshit. Anybody that's saying Kamaru Usman is just a straight boring fighter, to me, me and you are just at a difference of opinion. We're gonna have to agree to disagree, because I was more entertained by Kamaru Usman's performance versus Emil Mek than I was Stipe Miocic's performance versus Francis Ngannou. In Kamaru Usman's performance, when there was a lull in the action, Emil Mek was going for a Kimura or a guillotine. And yeah, Kamaru Usman's got to be careful when your opponent's going for a submission, because if you don't defend the submission correctly, you can lose the fight by getting put in a submission and getting tapped out. It can happen to the best of them. We saw Chael Sonnen when he was dominating Anderson Silva for 4.5 rounds, and then Chael Sonnen got him in a triangle choke, and then Anderson Silva defeated him with a triangle choke at the very end of the fight. It can happen to the best of the fighters. Even if you're the better fighter in that octagon, anybody can get submitted, anybody can get knocked out. So when Kamaru Usman's neck is in a guillotine and you've got, MMA media putting crickets behind it, like that's Kamaru Usman's fault that he's in a guillotine and it's a boring. But what about the slams in the fight? He probably slammed Emil Mek. If you go back and just put a highlight on all the strikes, all the ground and pound, and the slams in that fight, it would be pretty entertaining. And then you go to the post-fight speech, and he says, "I'm the most well-rounded fighter. Colby Covington, where are you at?" And if you just take out the fucking cricket background noises, and you take out the 30% comments, that was a great performance by Kamaru Usman, but he's still taking a bad rap for it. He had Emil Mek battered and bloody down there, slamming him around, so you can go and check my live. I do live reactions to the fights. You can go and check my live reaction to the Kamaru Usman fight. My mouth was dropped like, he just fucked that dude up. Holy shit. And then afterward, you get the media shitstorm of those 30% comments, 30%, he's boring. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. But I get it. People are going to find reasons to hate on some of these fighters for whatever reason they want. Tyron Woodley gets a bad rap too, and Tyron Woodley's not a boring fighter. You can say a lot of people say Tyron Woodley's last 3 fights were boring. Then I bring up the Wonderboy Thompson first fight was fight of the night at UFC 205 with Conor on the card, Eddie versus Eddie Alvarez, Carolina versus Joanna, amazing night of fights. But Wonderboy Woodley took fight of the night, and then that's where they say, oh, I mean, just his last 2 fights were boring. They keep moving the goalposts so they can call fighters boring just because they don't like them for whatever reason. Now, a lot of people are saying Kamaru Usman and Tyron Woodley are boring fighters. They do have something in common. I don't know what that is, but that could have something to do with why they get so much slack. but I'm not Tyron Woodley, so I'm not going to go there. But I will say Kamaru Usman, even though he's a wrestler and wrestlers can be boring at times, you got to do what you got to do to win, especially if you're coming into the fight with an injury. Tyron Woodley versus Damian Maia had a torn labrum, still defended 23 takedowns. People call him a boring fighter. What about the Robbie Lawler performance? What about the first Wonder Boy performance? So with that being said, I'm going to get off of that soapbox and say, you guys clearly realize that I think Kamaru Usman gets some unnecessary heat, but you can't deny him forever. Same with Tony Ferguson, same with Max Holloway. When they're on a 9-fight winning streak, there's nothing you can do but give him a top fight. And even if you want to say Kamaru Usman's last performance was boring, his performance right before that was a knockout where he made Sergio Moraes do a backflip. And I just did Kamaru Usman versus the World, where I went over his history. A lot of the guys on Kamaru Usman's resume in the UFC, you might not know their name, but they're a lot more talented than you would think. He's got wins over Leon Edwards and another guy that's like 18-2, like 2 fights ago. So Kamaru Usman really ain't nothing to fuck with. It's hard for him to find ranked opponents. And so whenever he's saying he was hurt and upset by Dana White's comments, because whenever Dana White comes out right after the fight, and whether you feel like it's nitpicking or not, but whenever Dana White says, you know, the crowd's booing you out of the stadium, and you say you're at 30%, and whenever Dana White doesn't give you equal praise, if he just criticizes you, a lot of the fans after the fight are going to criticize you as well. If Dana White would have followed that up, but yo, that was a very dominant performance, and we've got to get him a ranked opponent. If Dana White would have said that right after, it might have evened it out, but since he didn't, Kamaru Usman's getting a lot of heat. So he's saying, you know, just the fact that Dana White criticized my performance, a lot of the fans are now criticizing my performance. So it did hurt me and upset me, especially knowing that, you know, I had such a dominant performance and I'm one of the best fighters in the division. So with all of that being said, man, it is what it is. Kamaru Usman is a little annoyed by Dana White's comments, and he's still, though, with that being said, got to get a ranked opponent. Whether you think his last performance was the most boring performance you've ever seen, which is actually not the case, you're just a fucking hater, or whether or not, though, he's got to get a ranked opponent. He's on a 7-fight winning streak in the UFC. He's dominated every single opponent he's fought. There's no holes that have been exposed in this game. You can say, oh yeah, but somebody landed a strike on him. Yeah, but he still outstruck every single opponent he's fought, as well as scored more takedowns than every opponent he's ever fought, either equal to or less. So with that being said, Kamaru Usman, the Nigerian Nightmare, is looking for a ranked opponent, and he said, if I can't get Colby Covington, I want Neil Magny or Damian Maia, and anybody that makes sense that's ranked. So with that being said, it is what it is. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. Go ahead and hit thumbs down, because I know a lot of you fucking Kamaru Usman haters, that's what you do, but fuck yeah. With that being said, I'm out.
Bye, Felicia.